Good morning, everybody. Today I'm going to start something fresh here, a new format. I'm trying different formats right now just to see what I feel most comfortable with in this day and age. So I've been doom scrolling on LinkedIn, trying to see what people are talking about, trying to figure out what's really happening. People have always looked down on LinkedIn, at least in my circle, because it seemed to be like that place where people go to position themselves in the marketplace, a place that people just use to sell, to email other people without consent, and mostly like a place where you place your CV or where you place your aspirations in your career progression. Sometimes you use it for networking within your own company. Depending on your setup, you've used LinkedIn in many different ways, but this was predominantly the taste I used to have back then. And now that I'm back on LinkedIn, I'm trying to see every morning what people are posting, how they're using it, how they're expressing themselves, especially in the day and age of AI, because now AI has really opened up a channel for many people. It's not easy to type up a coherent piece of content that others can genuinely appreciate, especially if English is your not first language. You often hesitate to put yourself out in that way, but with AI tools, you can actually do it. Yes, you take into account that people will notice a lot of the vocabulary is AI generated. And at this point, I think people are experienced enough to understand when something has been AI enhanced. And personally, I'm totally fine with it. What is interesting to me, though, is that people, now that they feel much more confident to share because they don't have that bottleneck of the language anxiety, they're actually sharing some real experiences. And some of the experiences sound awkward and strange and unintuitive to me. Some thoughts totally resonate. Others, you feel like you're totally see through the original intent and you don't think it's genuine. And other times you have the most interesting insights and stories from people with real experience in a particular area I'm interested in. And it's just this wild mixed bag of things that you can now see on LinkedIn that wasn't the case before. I think a lot more people started to actually joining the conversation and speaking up and finding their voice. I think finding your voice is it's quite a long process. You need to go through many iterations. You need to not stop for a while, even if you don't get any reactions, even if no one cares. Eventually, you will find a particular angle that you enjoy producing and that is effortless to you. And I think this is where you can then further explore until you find what works for you or for your project. And I think a lot of people are now on this trajectory, trying to see how can they use AI to kind of cross that bridge they were not able to cross before, and at the same time join the conversation, put themselves out there. I think a lot of people right now are lacking the marketplace, the place where people speak out what they think in a very cultured and professional and maybe somewhat sterile way. But I think this is also a careful way and a gentle way and a way for, it's a professional conversation. It's stripped of a lot of the emotion that you will maybe find on other platforms. And I think that's the valuable thing, that it's, in a way, it's been purified and maybe sanitized, but that comes with the territory. So if you're seeing a lot of this going on right now, and I'm actually quite enjoying LinkedIn at this point, you have to understand that people come from different perspectives and they are on that journey, meaning they may be having a strong opinion in one or in the other direction because something is reflecting their experience. And you have to understand that they haven't lived through all possible experiences. So they must have a position, a lens they currently look through. And for them, certain things seem to be 100% true right now and they want to share it. And that's fine because you're probably in the same boat. And as you accept that idea, you start to see how many different perspectives make up this quote unquote what's going on right now situation. And I think on LinkedIn, you currently see that. And if you are following the whole AI conversation and you want to know if you are behind, if you are right on track, if you are doing the right things, if you should do more, if you follow the space, LinkedIn right now is just top location for that. If you go over to x.com for this type of information, you will get only cutting edge conversations, which are probably way too advanced and way too risky and way too experimental and also way too emotional for anyone who wants to have something actionable, something more condensed and cleaned up. I think LinkedIn is becoming a great place for that. So today I've briefly engaged with someone who has sold a website, and they talked about this on LinkedIn, briefly announcing their exit. They built a website. This was an SEO guy who built a website, and it found some traction within about 6 months, and people were interested in purchasing the project. And he said something interesting. He said, I still believe that if you solve a problem you have, it's very likely other people have a similar or actually the same problem. And it's worth, if you don't know what exactly to do, that's always a great approach to solve that problem that you have. And I've been always interested in that perspective, and I thought it is true, but you don't always see real examples of it. And I was just glad to see that that is actually still a perspective people recognize. It still reflects the truth today. If you have a problem, others are likely to have it too. And you just see it on LinkedIn very much so. People are wrestling with the same ideas around AI, around job security, around the future of marketing. I've seen someone talking about, complaining about marketing leadership today on LinkedIn. And it was a, mid-senior person, somewhere in the middle management inside marketing. And they're still seeing the same things we've been seeing 5-6 years ago, where they're complaining about marketing not getting its fair share of attention, still being treated as a content production factory. And some of these conversations we've been having 5, 6, 7 years ago, and this is still happening today. And this kind of gives you an opportunity to have an insight what's actually going on in the marketplace. And in a place where it feels like everything is moving so fast, it's comforting to see some of those real insights from the trenches, that a lot of the things actually haven't moved that fast. A lot of the things are still the same, and some of the same challenges remain. I mean, do we want to get into goal tracking in marketing, in digital marketing? It's a never-ending conversation depending on what kind of setup you have in a particular company. But tracking is such a controversial topic because sometimes it's just nearly impossible to achieve, and everyone just expects it. And then other people praise it as if it's the holy grail. And you wonder, like, can you show me how you have done an end-to-end tracking that actually works? Because I haven't seen this very often. So the same conversations keep on happening, and it gives you a bit of an insight of what's happening in the marketplace. And I think that's important in a fast-moving world, so that you can somewhat position yourself and know where you are in this whole stack. And this gives you a level of confidence and a level of comfort as you know your rate of progress and your direction, whether it's directionally completely off or whether it's right, or if you are now going on to an edge to experiment and to take risks. You need to have that visibility, and I think LinkedIn is a great mirror of what's currently going on. Okay, this was a lot of information for one little session. I hope you enjoyed it. I probably gonna see you in the next one. Goodbye.